Cedar Point Theme Park in Sandusky, Ohio is America's second oldest theme park. However, when a high school guidance counselor made his annual visit in the summer of 2015, a somewhat questionable decision on his part would lead to the first Darwin Award of this video. A quick recap, the Darwin Award is a satirical prize awarded to those who meet their demise in a rather absurd or reckless manner. Basically a tongue-in-cheek play on Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Now, Cedar Point has more than 65 rides, including 18 roller coasters, one of which is the bad guy in this story, the Raptor roller coaster. At the time of its opening, the Raptor was the world's tallest, fastest, and longest inverted roller coaster. It has 6 inversions, including a cobra roll, which was the first for an inverted coaster. On the 13th of August 2015, among the roughly 25,000 people at the park that day, was NBA basketball player LeBron James. For the employees and other park staff, the presence of a major sporting personality might be the thing the day was most remembered for. However, as it would turn out, this would not be the case. Also visiting the park that day was 45-year-old high school guidance counselor James Young. Theme parks across the world encourage guests, and in some cases strictly enforce no loose items in their pockets. They could fall free and collide with other riders. However, such rules are often not followed. At around 4:50 PM riding the Raptor, James's keys and wallets fell from his pocket and landed on the ground below the coaster. According to a park employee, Young, after completing the ride, approached the staff requesting they retrieve his items. However, for safety reasons, he was told they could, but at the end of the day. And this is when he made the rather Darwinian decision to go fetch the items himself. Spotting his lost items on the ground just over the fence, he crossed the safety barrier and walked directly in front of an oncoming train. Somehow oblivious to its presence, he was struck by the bottom bar of the front car and instantly lost his life. In the days that followed, the father of the victim, also named James Young, was quoted as saying, "Certainly my son shouldn't have gone over the fence, there's no doubt about that. But then, I believe the fence shouldn't have been so easy to get over." I know from a previous video when I covered this story, many of you had some pretty heated opinions on whether or not the fence was to blame for this tragedy. Longtime viewers to the channel may remember in February of 2023, I did a collaboration with Disasterthon True Horror on his channel. To many of you, he probably needs no introduction, and I'm pleased to say he's here on my channel today. So, without further ado, I'll hand this next story over to him to tell you.
Now the edge, which keeps all the oceans in, is a 150-foot ice wall, which is Antarctica.
Now yesterday, the sun and the moon was in the sky here at the same time, which is not possible in my belief.
In early 2020, misunderstood dreamer and professed flat earther Mad Mike Hughes climbed into his homemade rocket and blasted into the Californian sky. However, instead of proving the Earth wasn't round as he had set out to do, he lost his life in perhaps one of the most Darwin ways possible. Mike Hughes was born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma on February the 9th, 1956. As an adult, Mike made a living as a limousine driver and as a part-time stuntman, achieving minor fame when he broke one of Evel Knievel's long-standing records by jumping a 3.5-ton limousine more than 100 feet between 2 ramps at a Riverside Speedway in California. By the late 2010s, he'd become a professed flat earther, hell-bent on proving the world that the Earth wasn't round. His plan to do so? Build a homemade rocket, blast into space, and take some pictures, and then come back down to Earth. Mike and his friend Waldo Stakes dreamed of building a manned 2-stage rocket they called the Rockoon because it was part rocket and part balloon. They envisioned a machine capable of reaching a top speed of 500 miles per hour and carrying him more than 300,000 feet to the edge of space. In January of 2014, it was Mike's first test flight. He and his steam-powered rocket climbed 1,500 feet into the Arizona sky. The flight lasted less than a minute, and after touching down, he spent the next 2 weeks recovering from a back injury from the hard landing. However, undeterred, he began building his next, even more powerful rocket. In the 2017 documentary Rocket Man, Mad Mike's Mission to Prove the Flat Earth, Mike said he wasn't about to take NASA or Elon Musk's word that the world was round. On the 24th of March 2018, Mad Mike Hughes achieved his second launch, accelerating approximately 2,000 feet at a respectable 350 miles per hour. After a hair-raising but relatively uneventful flight, he landed with a resounding thud in the Mojave Desert. Over the following 2 years, with the help of ample donations from their fellow flat Earth enthusiasts, Mike and his team planned and began building the perfect rocket. On Saturday, February the 22nd, 2020, more than 4 dozen friends, journalists, and fellow rocket lovers watched Mike climb into his sleek, steam-powered rocket, which was pointed towards the heavens and set to prove the Earth wasn't round. However, as the rocket began to climb, it brushed against a ladder on the launch pad, altering its course and causing the parachute to deploy early. Flapping violently against the thrust of the engine, it tore free, and the rocket carved a wide arc through the sky, turned 180 degrees, before slamming into the desert floor less than 1 mile away, instantly killing its occupant. However, if this story wasn't strange enough, according to Mike's PR man Darren Schuster, the Flat Earth thing had been a publicity stunt, aimed at the financial support they hoped it would gain. Freelance journalist Justin Chapman, who witnessed Mike's final flight, agreed, saying the Flat Earth thing was a short-term stunt aimed at raising funds to build the rocket. On a more personal note, he added that Mike was driven by the need to do extraordinary things and to inspire others to do the same.
Claire Vickers and Barry Douglas have a story that they will never live down or easily forget.
Well, on a drunken night out in August, the pair decided to break into a water park in Hampshire.
Now, this next story is not a true Darwin Award as such, as the stars of the story both survived their ordeal. However, the sheer absurdity of what they did is a story worth telling. On a summer evening in Hampshire, England in 2021, 46-year-old grandmother Claire Vickers spent the night drinking at a local pub. However, according to her, at around 1 a.m, after spending the previous 4 hours drinking, she went to the home of her good friend, 44-year-old Barry Douglas. Not far from Barry's house was the Aldershot Lido Water Park. At any normal time of the day, the Aldershot Lido Water Park has some of the largest outdoor pools in the country. It features water slides, toddler paddling pools, a sand pit, basketball courts, and a poolside cafe. However, at 2 a.m. on this particular night, not yet ready to sleep, they were looking to have some fun, something they'd done together before, breaking into the water park for some after-hours antics. Wriggling under the fence, they made their way to the large water slide, climbed the stairs, and reached the top. While Claire remained fully clothed, Barry decided he'd go down naked. However, what the drunken misfits were unaware of was that unlike the other times they had broken in and gone down the slide, park management had recently installed large steel gates at the bottom of the slide before it reached the pool. As the old saying goes, ignorance is bliss, at least it was for the first 30 seconds. Whizzing feet first at full speed down the slide with the naked Barry holding onto her, Claire slammed into the steel gate first, quickly followed by Barry. Claire said of the incident, "As soon as I hit the bottom, I broke my legs straight in half. Barry broke his ankles and his left tibula before passing out from the pain, but he woke when the pair were found still trapped at the bottom of the slide some 3.5 hours later." Perhaps more bizarre than the incident itself was when the duo appeared in wheelchairs on Britain's This Morning show, hosted by Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield, partly blaming the park for what happened. While the pair admitted they shouldn't have been there, Barry told them the park was too easy to break into.
Chains were unlocked. So the chains were unlocked to walk up the steps.
Yeah.
So you got the bottom chain, so that was unlocked. So you just took it off. Got the top chain, unlocked. You go to the slide, and that was open.
He went on to say they should have security though for a start. The fence should be secured and there might be legal action taken. While Claire told the host that, "I just think something should be done about it." Although some viewers sympathised with the pair, others expressed outrage on Twitter at the suggestion the park could be partly to blame.
Police in Bakersfield, California are investigating what's being called a freak accident, one that left an area doctor dead. Colleagues became alarmed when she didn't show up to work the next day.
Her purse was there with her phone, all her money, all her credit cards, all that stuff.
Now, most of us can relate to this next story, doing something slightly questionable after a bad breakup that we might not be too proud of later. However, the person in this one, as it would turn out, took it a little too far. 49-year-old Dr. Jacqueline Cotterak was in an off and on-again relationship with her then lover, 58-year-old William Moody. After a fight on Wednesday, the 25th of August 2010, she attempted to break into his home using a shovel. Moody, however, wanting to avoid confrontation, slipped out the back door and spent the night elsewhere. Jackie, however, seemingly hadn't noticed. She was described as a brilliant doctor who graduated top of her class at the UCLA Medical School and a certified genius with an IQ of 170. So when she failed to show up for work on Thursday, her colleagues were naturally concerned and reported her missing. So where was she? 2 more days would pass and there was still no sign of her. It was on Saturday night, the 28th of August, that a house sitter at her lover's place noticed a smell coming from the fireplace. After peering up the chimney to see what it was, the mystery of the missing doctor had been solved, but it wasn't a happy ending. According to the police, on Wednesday, after William had slipped away unnoticed, desperate to get into the house to speak with him, she used a ladder to climb onto the roof before removing the chimney cap and climbing down feet first. However, after getting stuck halfway down, the pressure on her chest caused her to suffocate. If there is a moral to the story, it's perhaps that love really does make us do some crazy things.
While a definite contender for the Darwin Award, this next story is eerily similar to the first story in the video, but with a pretty big twist at the end. On September the 7th, 1998, 25-year-old Hector Mendoza visited Paramount's Great America Amusement Park in Santa Clara, California. Originally from Guadalajara, Mexico, Mendoza was now a window cleaner living in the United States. At the park with him that day was his brother-in-law and his new wife of just 2 months. Shortly after 2 p.m, Hector and his wife rode the Top Gun roller coaster, now known as the Flight Deck. Built by Bolliger and Mabillard, the Flight Deck or Top Gun is another steel inverted coaster. At some point throughout the almost 2 minutes and 20-second ride, the forces generated by the coaster caused his wife's baseball hat to fly off and fall to the ground. Now, I'm sure you all get where this is going, however, there's definitely a twist to the story. Perhaps keen to remain in the good graces of his new wife, in an attempt to retrieve the cap, he passed through a door marked staff only and climbed a 6-foot fence into the secured area directly under the tracks of the Top Gun roller coaster. As he seized down on the lost hat, a fully loaded train travelling at top speed on the downward section caught him by surprise. However, unlike the Cobra incident from the earlier story, it wasn't the frame of the vehicle that instantly ended his life, but the now broken leg of Jessica Medina riding in the front car. In the immediate aftermath of the accident, the ride was closed for 1 day, pending an inspection. Hector Mendoza's wife went on the offensive, denying that her husband climbed a fence and instead claimed the gate was either open or wide enough for him to have slipped through. Both the police and park officials dismissed the accusations. However, the strange story wasn't finished here. When the Mexican consulate contacted the Mendoza family back in Mexico to inform them of the death of their son, they were very much confused, as their son was alive and well and in Mexico with them. So, who was the dead man at the theme park? Using fingerprints taken from the body, police would identify him as 25-year-old Suarez Robles, originally from Mexico. Mr. Robles had assumed the driver's license, social security number, and the name of Hector Mendoza, an identity even his new wife had believed him to be. The reason for faking his identity remains unclear. Let me know your thoughts on today's video, and a big thanks to my special guest. If you enjoyed, I'd love it if you subscribed and joined me for the next one. To watch another of my Darwin Award videos, you can click the link on screen. And as always, thanks for watching.